like to state that my opponent has not cited any sources to back up his claims he has made. Therefore, I have not been able to properly prepare my rebuttal and closing speech. Even if he cites the sources following this speech, I will not be able to argue them, making this an unfair debate and proving that he should lose the match. First, he does not prove that the economic power of the UN is enough to demand an end to the dolphin hunt. Also, proving that the UN has demanded an end to a whale hunt in Japan recently, if my opponent could do so, does not prove that demanding an end to the annual dolphin hunt in Taiji, Japan, would not be breaking the treaty established by the UN to protect the traditions and cultures of all nations. The sources I have cited earlier explain the intentions of the treaty and the responsibilities that must be upheld by the UN thereafter. The whale hunt, which is currently being combated by the United Nations, does not actually have anything to do with cultural issues at all. The International Court of Justice ruled Monday, March 31st, that Japan can no longer continue its annual whale hunt, rejecting the country's argument that it was for scientific purposes, according to a CNN news article. This means that the decision to intervene on this whale hunt did not break the international treaty called the Convention Concerning the Protection of the World Cultural and Natural Heritage, adopted by UNESCO in 1972. Therefore, my opponent has not proved his claim that the UN could successfully intervene in the annual dolphin hunt in Taiji, Japan. His claim that the whale hunt that the UN has just demanded an end to is the same situation as the dolphin hunt in Taiji, Japan is false. The real reason that the United Nations decided to force an end to the issue is because it had no scientific or cultural purpose. Referring to the conflict between animal rights activists around the nation and the Japanese, which my opponent has discussed, I'd like to explain that it is not the United Nations' job to intervene in this conflict because the activists are not protesting with any government's permission, and essentially the practice is illegal. For the UN to take action in this situation would create more issues than it would solve, as I had stated earlier, because it would create tensions between nations. If anything, the animal rights activists are in the wrong because they have not taken legal actions in their fight. In 2009, journal entry entitled Eco-Terrorism and Piracy in the High Seas, Japanese Whaling and the Rights of Private Groups to Enforce International Conservation Law in Neutral Waters. The actions of Captain Paul Watson and the Sea Shepherd Conservation Society are described. It is explained that over the past 30 years, Captain Watson has used his privately funded Navy to enforce international conservation laws by chasing, harassing, scuttling, and in some cases, ramming illegal whaling and fishing vessels on the high seas. He has, in many cases, sunk these ships, endangering the safety of others and destroying property. Many people have called him a terrorist over the years, and it is clear that the UN should not be supporting activists like this by demanding an end to the dolphin hunt, because they would then be contradicting the purpose of building peace in a safe and legal way. I don't understand why my opponents claim that my ideas are contradicting. The United Nations and the United States are two different things, and therefore the United Nations can be neutral while the United States has allies. Finally, he addresses the point the Japanese cannot decide to kill the dolphins or not because the dolphins are not their property. But then again, they're not the United Nations property. Neither of these people can make the decision, and neither of these governments can make the decision. My opponent's resolution stated that the UN should adopt a resolution decrying or demanding an end to the annual dolphin hunt in Taiji, Japan, contradicts his claim that he just made, stating the dolphins are not their property, and therefore they cannot make decisions for them. Because the dolphins belong to no one, he cannot say that the UN has the right to make their decisions to intervene. In conclusion, I hold my claim that the Japanese people's responsibility to make a change in this situation. The UN should not get involved. Also, I think it's important that I reiterate that my opponent has not provided any sources, therefore making it impossible for me to properly analyze and argue them. This is no longer a fair debate, and I should win the match as a result. Thank you.